right. Good evening, paranormal enthusiasts. Welcome to our first episode of Coffee Talk with your hosts, me, Mallory, and David. Coffee Talk came about after we kind of decided we wanted to share our paranormal experiences and stories with the believers and our skeptics as well. We'll be sharing our stories from places we visited and also recapping events here at Bube's Brewery. To start our next few podcasts, we're going to be introducing the Jott-Nyx Paranormal team. We have two of them here with us tonight. So we have Jamie and we have Andrew as well. So we'll start with some questions and have them kind of introduce themselves. So the first question that we have here, we're just going to start with Jamie. We had you fill out a bio and just kind of about yourself. And so what got you into the paranormal?
Oh, wow. So always been an enthusiast. Grew up in a home that I believed had some activity in it from about the age of 7 through my 20s. Living in that house, there was all kinds of doorknobs rattling, footsteps in the attic, steps creaked when there was no one on them. Lots of unique stuff happening through the years.
Was it local? Did you live
local? 216 Cherry Street in Columbia. It's one of the old bigger homes downtown. Everybody, it is a private residence. Do not go there. But with that, it was one of those things where then as you grow up, you kind of start talking to other people about experiences, and everybody's had something happen that they couldn't explain somewhere along the way. And then a few years ago, actually, I ran into an opportunity with Jerry and Melissa, the team founders, to investigate over in York. For a night, and I took it. It was actually my birthday eve. So my birthday, midnight, it was my birthday, so that was my gift to myself that year.
Was that the Princess House?
And No, that was downtown. We worked at the what was the speakeasy, and then the morgue.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the realtor office, and so forth. To a couple sites in the night. And then from there it was just a little bit of a conversation and an invite to join, and here we are a couple years later. So it's been something. Yeah.
Andrew, would you like to tell how you got into the paranormal?
Well, I mean, I've always been intrigued by it and whatnot, like watching the shows and everything. And then one day I ended up talking to Missy about it, and next thing you know, she started saying how she went to a couple places, and I just thought it was the coolest thing to do.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and here I am, enjoying my life.
I know in your bios you also had talked about kind of like the scientific, I guess kind of like that way, the scientific side of it, or more of like it intrigued you because of how we can talk to our relatives that have passed on, or those type of things as well.
Like using equipment like EVPs, a couple of low REM pods. We got the millimeter. We got the millimeter up here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And then the easiest one is a flashlight. Like, come on,
Yeah.
everybody loves a flashlight, right, David?
I show up at your house with a flashlight.
I'm surprised we don't have a cat ball.
That's just a simple yes or no question, and to be able to connect with something that isn't there is probably the coolest thing to do.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, so
What?
we'll move on. Let's move on to the second question. Why, just in general, what drew you to the paranormal teams? Why did you join one?
Sure. I was asked to. Yeah, obviously, right?
All right, Andrew.
What
you're
intrigued
out.
you? I was gonna say, what
I was
intrigued
forced.
you about being on Missy and Jerry's team, Jott-Nyx?
Well, yeah,
Like,
that's first of all, and we sat down, we had dinner one night, and I asked a bunch of questions, and because I wanted to understand what the expectations were, and one of the things that really drew me in was the fact that not everything that happens is paranormal. It's not an automatic belief. We have the process of debunking something instead of just saying it was, and more times than not, there is something that is happening. It may well be happening, but there's also some rational reason for it, what it is. Systems kick on in the property, building. There's light play from the street level. There's places where there are things that are explainable, and sometimes not easily explainable, but if you make the effort to figure out what it was and try to recreate it, and then you can't. If you take away all the things that it could be, and it's still no rational reason for it, then it's likely paranormal. But that was one of the beliefs on the base of it all. Right away, we're going to try to figure out what it is, and that really drew me in. I look at it from a scientific perspective, where we can figure it out. And I'm all for believing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've certainly had some weird stuff happen that I can't explain, and hopefully you capture it with some video or audio or some other kind of means to capture the experience. Realistically, there are things out there that we just can't do. We can't figure it out.
I'd like to get your input. Why did you want to be a part of Missy and Jerry's?
It's funny you asked that. We're just talking one night, like joking around, saying about let's make our own TV show, or like saying stupid names and stuff. And next thing you know, Missy decided that her, Jerry, and I'm trying to think of her Diana. They all got a group together, and then I was with Jamie going to Speakeasy and Morgan and over there. And after doing that, just that one time, and then up at the Haldeman, it just really, really drew me in. And I think I really got into Jott-Nyx in 2019, at the start of when they did it. But it's really something else too.
Well, that's when I first ran up on Jott-Nyx. And then you all had a spot in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did a newspaper spot, and it was the picture of you and Jerry and you.
At the Haldeman?
Yeah.
Right at the back steps. Well, front steps. I was looking at it.
I know. I saw you guys on Facebook, and I think that's why I applied. But Dale and I, my husband and I, we went to the Haldeman. That was the first time that we fell in love with it. We loved talking to Jerry and Melissa about it, and then we started coming to the events here at the brewery as well, and just applied to be on the team. interviewed with David.
Yeah. I just showed up with a flashlight.
Yeah.
I've just showed up with the flashlight ever since.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great process how they do it, interviewing and just making sure it's a right fit for the team as well.
I still have my questionnaire. I just showed it to Chad when I was at my house the other night. I still have my questionnaire. And, like for me, it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
I got a notification that for a job offer. You know, for whatever reason at the time, Facebook was throwing Facebook classifieds. I don't know if they expected me to quit my job or what, but you know, as they listen to everything I say anyway. But the, I got a one ad for a paranormal investigator. I was like, well, hell, I've been traveling all over the country doing this, and this is right down the road. So
You get a flashlight.
and I got a free flashlight. I was there.
Yeah. And I think being a part of this team as well is like we have all our different personalities, but we still all come together as one. And even with the different personalities, I mean, it still all blends together like a blended family. So I think it's a great team to be on. For our next question, just what is your favorite place to investigate? Either that we've been to as a team or what you've been to by yourself.
Right. Well, I think Whitehill was really cool. Whitehill Mansion in New Jersey, just across the river, you know, kind of thing was easy in and easy out. It wasn't something local, and what we went, most of us went as a group. But the property is big enough that you can really be separated and not contaminate each other. You know, sometimes even here at the brewery, you know, there are times when if you're at the catacombs, you know, you're 43 feet underground down there. But there is a direct stairwell that goes underneath the bar area, the creatures room. So there, if someone's moving chairs or thumping around, you know, that sound just carries right down. So you have the moment of, again, debunking something. What was that? You know, you have to go and check out the space. And the Whitehill was pretty wide open for all of us. And of course, you know, you can go on your own or you can stay with the group. You know, depends on the person. I felt the same way at West Virginia Penitentiary as well. I drifted off on my own to the infirmary, and I realized at one point I was walking around the infirmary by myself. And it was really like stuff was happening around me, like bangs and bumps and stuff. And I was like, I should go get somebody. Come down the cell block, and I found Chad. And I'm like, dude, come with me. I want you to experience this, you know, and see if it's just me or not. And you know, so you know, it's those kind of things. You know, the bucket list kind of thing too, though. You know, Trans-Allegheny would be great. You know, there's the Conjuring House is coming up for us later this year. We're going to visit up with our New Jersey team. We have a sister team in New Jersey, Jott-Nyx Paranormal, New Jersey. They've scheduled time up there in mid-November. I'm really looking forward to that. That's a long time one to do.
Yeah.
But you know, any place that has potential for activity. I mean, that could be, you know, residential, helping somebody out in their home. Anywhere we can go that, you know, we get a chance to put some more experience to what we do, you know, and hone our skills and learn new ones. Especially when you investigate with somebody you haven't worked with before, you learn something.
And that's great here with too, like us rotating our team, like groups, like we're split into pairs. Each week we're with someone different on our team and just learning their style of investigating. Also, it's great.
And it's cool because groups get to go to 3 different locations too, instead of just staying in one spot. You know. My turn?
Yeah, it's your
Oh,
turn.
well, I mean,
Same question.
So far, hands down, this year has to be St. Albans. But my all-time favorite would obviously be Albany. Now, unfortunately, we can't be up there anymore, which is kind of a bummer. But you know, it's okay. But the best thing about St. Albans is the bowling. Only because it has a bowling alley to a big old mansion. That old mansion. You know, would you love to be down there bowling in the middle of the night? You know. Now, the first thing we got when we got in there, you know, we went through our paperwork, you know, and then we split off into like a couple little groups, and we got upstairs and we're walking down, I think it was the main floor. We're walking down the one hallway, and I turn to my right, and it's just like this overwhelming of sadness. So I just stand in there, and I feel like there's like a little boy in there, but I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. It was just overwhelming, so I left. And I decided to turn around, and I saw this full body apparition of a little boy standing in the middle of the hallway. So I started walking towards him, and he disappeared. Put my flashlight up, he's gone, obviously. And you put it down, you just see this black silhouette of a little boy, probably about like 4 foot height. I thought that was the coolest thing. But then throughout the night, you know, it was cold, snowing, and it just really got to you. So you kind of just like, all right, this is ridiculous.
I think it was every different season.
Yeah.
Like,
That
Well,
day.
like Melissa
Well, the
said,
way
yeah,
down.
it snowed, then the sun came out, then
it
it
was
rained. or
80
something.
degrees in Pennsylvania, but
80.
35 in Virginia.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Now, would you say you'd go back there again?
Oh,
and see if
absolutely.
you can
Absolutely.
get more? I know that place is definitely, yeah, absolutely. Melissa said road trip, and I definitely think that's a place that all of us would want to go back to again because it was just so large there that we didn't get to everything in every
Yeah.
spot. And yeah, that's one place definitely. Now, on your list of places you would want to go to, what were some of those places?
Chantilly. Jamie said it already.
Road trip.
Yeah, another
I was
road
going
trip.
to jump in, but Chantilly,
I'll be right
Yeah.
back.
you know, that would be,
Absolutely.
that's probably the top one on the list. Because, you know, see little black figures on the wall.
I know Jamie's making a list for our team of places we want to go to next year, and I think that's top one,
So
right?
far.
Probably.
Well, you know,
So far.
It's a friendly reminder that those were due guys. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
A few, but not all.
Yeah, and even if there's some like suggestions from people that are watching, if there's places around here in Pennsylvania or anywhere near you, wherever you're watching.
What is it? 6-hour drive?
Oh yeah, like 4 or 5 hour drive. Even if there's any like residential, if there's things going on in your home that you want our team to come out and help and kind of see what we can do as well, you can feel free to message on our page, the Jott-Nyx Paranormal page as well. All right, we'll just head on to the next question. Oh.
It's been a long
We all
day
got our
already.
coffees for coffee talk because that's what you need.
I think I need more coffee.
All right, you guys can grab more coffee if you would like, and then I'm just gonna look at our next question
I
here.
brought a bucket. So
A bucket. I'll just need an IV of coffee.
You know, if we go to St. Albans again, we just have to make sure that David has our hotel.
Oh yes, we did. We
Say
did
that-
have
tell
the
that
best
story,
hotel.
David.
Yes.
yeah, anyway, that's a great story.
David, please share.
It's an appropriate story.
I went cheap and decided to reserve a below average hotel. And they shared a parking lot with a couple of other members in their hotel. So the first thing that happened was I showed up to the wrong hotel. Remember, I was one town over.
Yeah.
And caused a scene because I thought that's where I was supposed to be. And then headed back to once the guy very politely told me, hey, you're in the wrong spot. 20 miles down the road, I get to my hotel, and my hotel had no desk, front desk staff. The front door was locked. You had to go to the next door hotel to check in, and then you got your. Even just walking to my door, the neighbors came out asking, some inappropriate questions, And as I'm listening to them, I'm getting scared, and I walk in, I turn the light on, the lights flicker. It was a $50 a night hotel room, and I got $50 a night worth of value out of it. Black water coming out of the faucets.
For the first 5 minutes, right?
It was, no. It's like for the first 5 or 10 seconds. It was, long enough for me to stand there and be like, well, I took showers in the desert, non-potable water for how long? I can handle this. I just decided not to brush my teeth in the shower.
Somebody's thinking.
Yeah, that was like St. Albans was the best experience I've had here with the team. Investigation-wise, accommodations-wise, I learned my lesson.
For next time.
Well, when we went to West Virginia, I splurged and paid for a decent hotel. It helps to get the with Clearwater. It helps to get the military rate and all that stuff.
So I kind of have a question. I didn't write it down on my notes here, but we kind of didn't talk about you guys outside of the paranormal and on being on a team. But just for the audience, what do you do for a living outside of being on an ghost investigation team or paranormal team? And I don't know. I just think that's an interesting question. And what do you do? What is your job outside of this?
Well, I do have a job, so
Yeah.
you have to.
I just think people would be intrigued on knowing what we do outside of this and how, I don't know, maybe some of those feelings, if those were brought here, on the team.
Well, do you ever get the looks when you say you do this? And that's your job. Are you on TV? No, I'm not on TV.
No.
And, that's a great question because when you do something like this, people have an expectation of you. They have a certain standard
They
of
think it's all
knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
There's a trust factor to being walking around in the dark with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you lead groups, of public people, that you don't know. There's an expectation level, but you have to have a job in order to pay for all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of equipment that we use, the K2, the sensor detector, the EDI pluses, all the stuff.
Flashlight.
The SLF, the flashlights are crazy.
Flashlights are expensive.
Flashlights are surprisingly expensive, at least good ones. So for me, in my day job, if you will, I work for a company called Clean Rate. I am a product specialist. I deal with a specific company's products nationally and actually internationally. So, it's a fun job. I love what I do.
Yeah.
And of course I have a few coworkers who are interested in paranormal, so we have some coffee talk there, cooler talk, whatever you want to call it. Especially on Mondays when they go one way and I go another. So it's interesting, and that's one of the things too. Like when like this, we're connecting with people who know us maybe or those who don't. But if you start talking to people about what you're interested in, you'll find like-minded people, or like interested people.
Yeah.
All the time, everywhere. There's a reason there's like 6,000 shows.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Podcasts like ours, and all kinds of different media platforms to view things on. There's interest out there.
You never know what you're going to get though when the people start
True.
talking about it.
True.
Oh my God, it is, and then next thing you know, it's
kind of sad because you talk about what you do outside of a full-time job, and they're like, "You like that stuff?
Mhm.
Like, is that stuff real?" Like yeah, it's real if you really make up your mind. If you really want to believe in something like that, yes, of course it's real. But if you just want to go out to like a haunted house where people jump out in front of you, it's completely different than what we do. They're not going to come through. They're not going to come through walls. They're not going to jump in front of you with a chainsaw. It's
You just
nothing
jump.
like that. Huh?
You just jump.
That's because I.
He was like, he just says,
Anyway,
what was that?
but then you get people that are afraid to admit that they're into the paranormal.
Yeah.
And that's what you shouldn't have to be scared to hold back something that you want to believe in. Just like express your own feelings about it. Like, is it common around the United States? It is, but it's not. It's not like NFL football. It's not like people have common of sports, cooking, stuff like that. It's not as common as what it should be. That's what's said.
I was gonna say, and for those people that don't like that you talk to at your job, and they're like, "Oh, I don't believe that,"
Yeah, exactly.
and you show them proof, and they're like, "Oh, you captured that, or how did you do that?" Like, and I mean, there's things too that we still debunk, but we're like, just come on out and see us, like over at Bube's Brewery, like we're here, like come in, be our guest or whatever, and see what we do, and you'll like pick something up or something,
And there will be things that
it'll be fun.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because if someone's a true believer, for lack of a better way of saying it, and if someone is a skeptic, there's a space for everyone in this field, and if it's just true entertainment for the skeptic, just to see it, that's great. I think there's enough out there. There's enough out there that is provable, or at least visually, cued in that you can find it. I think it's hard to be a skeptic.
it is.
When you see all the stuff that's out there. Now, is some of it staged? Probably, possibly. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But if you're in the room when it happens, as we've all have been in the room, all of us in some way or another, in some place or another, we've had something happen that we can prove, and it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
So, bring
Absolutely.
along.
And you're not always going to get something that
Oh my gosh, no.
No.
or that night.
True.
We like our investigation the other night. We didn't get nothing the first two serious sessions.
Well, that's not true. So
Oh, we got some.
we did. So this is the reason. This is why there's video running, audio running,
Oh, yes,
other
yes,
stuff
yes.
happening. That's the static device stuff that's sitting steady. In this very room, there was and we were talking about I was talking about the upstairs
Yeah.
being full. There's a hotel level above us here. Every room was occupied that night by a wedding party, including the Mulberry Mansion across the street. So if you want to come here, there's plenty of accommodations. You can even stay here. But there was somebody being loud, at the top of the steps. I believe you stepped away to
Correct.
speak with them. And I said, it's really busy tonight. Is that bothering you at all? And the response on the audio that we didn't hear was no. And then there was a second part of it that was no and something else that wasn't quite audible. So, that's why you have stuff going, right?
Yeah, we don't know until a couple days
You
later.
got to check
we're
this, you
listening
got to back and review all the evidence. And then, of course, what happened in the catacombs is different altogether. But
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
that was awesome. But
that's really nice.
I have zero to contribute about last weekend because I got nothing.
Dale and I had a great night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll come back to some more questions, but I'll skip over. So on the 25th, when we had our investigation, Dale and I were paired in, we had a lot in the catacombs. We were using the flashlight for yes or no questions. Well, we were using it for yes. So I had asked, are you in your 20s? Can you turn the flashlight on for yes? And I was going through the ages like 30s, and I hit 40s, and the flashlight came right on. So I was like, okay. And I was like, is this a male presence with us? Flashlight came on. I was like, all right. So male in his 40s. And we got some more things. We asked about the tunnels that they're digging up underneath. We were like, did you use this like to travel at all, like with Underground Railroad or anything? And the flashlight came on. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, that was pretty much all we got really in the catacombs. Then we came up to the Peacock room, and Melissa and Jerry and our whole group was in there, and Dale and I, and we were talking to Alois at the table, and he was answering us like flashlight, he seemed pretty calm. Like Dale apologized for, I forget what he apologized for, but he apologized for something, and Alois accepted his apology. And then we also watched the flashlight roll across the table as well. I forget what we had asked, what we had said to him, but it was just, I think it was casual conversation at that point. Yeah, I think Dale was talking. Do you
I
remember what
was
you said?
saying, we only have a few minutes left. Do you have anything else you want to say to us?
Oh yeah, and then I think we laughed about, or were talking like just amongst us, and all of a sudden it just like casually rolled off the table, or rolled like towards Missy and I. And we're like, oh. And it's always those things where you like don't have a video running, and you're like, why did we not have a video running? And I was like, let's do it again, and it did not happen again after. So it's one of those things, yeah, that I regret, that I wish we had a video like recorder running or whatever. But that was like, I think we had the best night. Like typically Dale and I, when we get paired, sometimes it's hit or miss, but that night, like we had a lot.
You guys
We had, yeah, a decent amount of activity here, which was great. All right, I'm just gonna hop back to the questions here. So kind of going off of all the crazy experiences that we have here, what is one of the most memorable experiences that you've had, or craziest thing that's happened that's just kind of stuck with you that you would want to share? Crazy story.
does it have to be here?
No, it
Okay.
could be anywhere.
So
Yeah.
I have some here, obviously, but the thing that stands out to me was we were at the Haldeman Mansion, and we were in the servants' room, our servants' quarters. We had the VASMA box running, which is a software platform that draws in audio frequency and it has voices come through. And the question was posed to Nate, and as a good investigator, when you enter a space, you introduce yourself, and those in the room introduce themselves. That way, the spirits who are there they have an idea who you are, and it's warm. More than anything. It's the same thing if you come into someone's home or you meet somebody, introduce yourself. Right, Andrew? Let's just introduce them. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, then we did that round the room, and there was about 6 or so of us in the group, and then we asked if you could name anyone in the room, and my name came clearly through, and the phrase actually was, "That's Jamie."
Yeah.
Now my name is not unique by any means, but it's not common either. So, it was jaw dropping. It was a really neat experience, and fortunately we didn't get a whole lot after that, but that was true engagement.
I remember up there at the Haldeman when we had Jade there.
Yeah.
You remember that? And then right after she left, and then we had our little sheets run and done, and came back, and everything was just like, I'm not going to say the whole story of what went on there, but let's just say it wasn't good up until that point. And then once she left, we went back to the mansion. It was just like a whole different atmosphere.
Yeah.
So we ended up deciding to go up to the master bedroom, just sit there in like a big old circle. And I'm running EVP, and I said, there was a girl here earlier. I don't know if you remember, and then a silent yes came through, and I said, do you know her name or did you not like her? And it said Jane, and that just sent chills throughout my whole body because the fact is that they even remember her name and they didn't like her.
Either like or not like, either way.
Yeah. And then you asked the question about being in a parent's room, and the EVP came through and said, "Where did they go?" Or where?
No, the question we were trying to draw.
I think Ani.
And it wasn't Ani. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It's been so long since we've been there. The son from the nursery room, Jacob, thank you. And I was trying to bring him into the master bedroom. And I said, it's okay. Your parents aren't here right now. And I was joking that I used to do the same thing. I was running jump up in my parents' bed, when they weren't there, and stuff. And clear as day on audio, these was, yes, they are.
Yeah.
And it was, nothing in the moment, of course.
Yeah, we didn't know. Like, it's just that quiet, and that's why EVP is important.
Yeah, but there's an add-on to that story though. So we had a very interesting experience happening with SLS work around that guest that night, and we did decide to take a break to diffuse the situation a bit. It was getting tense. We left. We went to the Sheets in Marietta. Gone a good 30 minutes or more. We all got something to eat, something to drink, and we come back and we're sitting in Annie's room there. Annie there, Annie here.
Yeah.
Annie's room, and not in the moment, but on audio later, there is all of this growling, grumbling, and all this weird stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is all of this? And I realized it's us digesting it. So the place is so quiet. It's out there in the middle of nowhere almost. And it was the weirdest thing. So I'm hearing this. I'm like, why is it? What the heck? And then I realized, oh yeah, we just came back. We're had like a bag of chips or something.
Or something.
But so again, you have to know. That's the point. You have to know the surroundings, the environment that you're in too. Like something happened. There was a cause and effect to that. The effect was, of course, eating.
Yeah.
And luckily we weren't like chomping on chips in the room. That's really loud, or wrapping papers or wrappers and stuff. But
or shuffling our feet.
Yeah.
Even though the EVP could be like 20 feet away from us, shuffling our feet could sound like it's right there.
Well, that goes to the whole concept of tagging and making sure that if you're doing the noise, you have to identify it. Yes. Otherwise, you're going to forget it in the moment because there's so much other stuff that's going to happen or has happened that you're trying to do. And then when you go back to sit to that, whether it's the next day or that night later or whenever it is that you finally get to it, you're not going to remember that exact moment. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what was that? And no one acknowledged it, so you have to think that it's something paranormal. When, it's us.
Yeah.
It's always, let's make a noise corruption.
That's actually where I saw my first black shadow too. And I was actually with Missy and Jerry too. We were standing, we actually on a little break, I think. And, they're in, what room was that? I can't remember what room that was. Was it the ballroom? We were sitting they went out in the ballroom, it was just Missy and Jerry, and I was back with everybody else, taking a drink, taking a break. I started walking with them, and they're just standing there, like, standing still. I'm wondering what the heck is going on. So I'm looking at them, and then I walk up, I said, what's going on? They said, just watch that window back there. There's a little window with the reflection of the moonlight coming in from the river, and you see just half it like disappearing and stuff. So I'm like, all right, cool. So then we move a little closer, and next thing you know, this full body, I'm talking like 7 foot tall, just peeks around the corner and just shoots right back. I freaked out because that was my first ever shadow I've ever seen. I ran back, and I'm like, oh shit, I saw a shadow. So I come running back in, and I'm like, did you see that? And they were like, yeah, we saw it too. And we came to find out that it was a servant looking over who's in that house, because that's just who the servant is. Yeah. You make sure that the house was safe for the kids, and that nobody's trying to steal their stuff, which makes sense. But I miss that place, man.
So that's your craziest story.
Well, besides
Share.
here too. When the flashlight decided I want to come off the bar right there the first time we were
Yeah. That's been a common occurrence lately. I feel like with flashlights rolling off the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had a cat ball in the preacher's room just shoot off the table as well.
Cat ball.
Sit steady for half an hour and all of a sudden it just goes.
But so what you're talking about with EVPs and the recorders, I feel like sometimes like when we go into the room, placing the recorder not where you're sitting directly, but somewhere else. Like, because when a spirit comes in or whatever, they're not going to come and stand right in front of you where you're all crowded around and staring at them. Like, I wouldn't do that. So they're going to hide, or they're going to stay back and observe. And, you know, that's when you're going to get that like the results to the EVPs.
You know,
So I think that's a good placement.
well, there's nothing wrong with having more than one reporter in the room.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that, to the point of, you know, having something nearby, but then also something static across the room or near an entrance or exit, something, you know, the non-occupied spaces. You know, and that's what we talked about too. You know, when we do our introductions and, you know, kind of our ground rules and stuff, it's like not crowding a room, not blocking access ways, you know, normal pathways people would normally move through, just so that that is that normalcy for the spirit that's in their place. You know, that we're not obstacles. You know, and then listening. You know, we listen more than we speak. You know, in spaces as well, giving time for answers in between questions. You know, not rapid fire. If I ask you 3 questions in a row, like, what's your favorite color? What'd you have for dinner? Or where are you going after this?
You're like, what?
Yeah,
you
we
like
can
to
answer
repeat
it,
that.
You know, you can't answer them all.
No.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you get a response. You know, what is the response for? When you're given all that stuff all at one time, you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't decipher it. So, you know, there's some etiquette to it, the process as well.
Absolutely.
So on the topic of equipment, what is your favorite piece of equipment to use while investigating? Yeah. Do you want to go first, Andrew? Would you
I
like?
was mocking
I know Jamie's been going first, but
Dave just whispered flashlight.
Flashlights are going to sponsor you. Like,
I know,
you're just
right?
going to have all these brands.
Yeah, Baglight. It's
Baglight.
This is gonna sound corny, but honest to me, like, you know, I
Might.
but other than that, me too. It's really what I carry the most. It's obviously easy to carry, fits in my pocket. It is a call and response tool. You know, it can be utilized the same as a flashlight. And we were doing a residential investigation, or at least the start of one the other night, and it was sitting on a dinner table in the middle of a room, nothing near it, and it is spiking to yellow regularly. You know, especially on certain discussion points and certain people. You know, so there was someone with us that night, and I've seen it go red many times in a space where there should be absolutely zero reason for it. You know, the catacombs here, you know, 43 feet below ground, there's the wiring and anything electrical there is running across the ceiling. It set that on one of the dinner tables, and it'll call and response, or it should in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing there. You know, and we're not near it as well. You know, I get we can trigger with our own devices, you know, cell phones and things like that. If you go airplane mode and so forth, you shouldn't have any reason to trip it, but it works regularly. So it is one of my very favorite things. It's always in my pocket around investigating.
Was that?
I say great. Yeah, easy to carry. Pull that. All right, and I'm just like, whip it out.
Whip it out.
Did the
Right?
flashlight come on earlier?
I was gonna say it.
Oh, no, oh, okay. I thought the flashlight had come on earlier. Your favorite piece of equipment to use?
I would say that's
It's got a red. It's got a red spike on this, by the way.
Oh, yeah, from the phone or?
This is the only thing near it.
My phone definitely didn't go off.
I would say mainly the SLS, and what that really is, it's just a tablet and then the Xbox Connect. Now, people might say, well, it can pick up anything. Yes, it can. But what it's truly made for is pickable figures. So it's going to pick you up, but if there's nobody next to you, no objects that's going to obscure the lens or anything, more than likely could be paranormal. You know? And that's something that you got to figure out. So you pan away, come right back at it, and if it shows up again, awesome. If it doesn't, then there's something that was there. Because if it's picking something up and you pan away, you come back and it's there again, just make sure there's no objects there that could bonk it. Like we put it on one of these radiators, they could pick it up because there's electricity coming out of the radiator. That's just things you have to really think about. Other than that, it has to be the halo.
Oh, and the figure is taking command.
Yeah.
You know, like in the bowling alley, St. Albans,
Mm-hmm.
when Kelly
chair.
was asking one of the chair to put his leg out, his arm out, the one that was between the chair, well, next to Jerry in the chair.
That was really cool. And then the halo. You know, being blindfolded. listen to nothing but white noise, and hopefully when you hear something with your own ears, that's pretty cool too. Just feel like you're a little.
You brought up a really good point though. When you're using like a device like an SLS or even a camera, where it's a dark room and you're looking at a screen that's oh so big.
Yeah.
And you see something. Everybody's so fixated on the screen.
Correct.
Look up.
Yeah.
Make sure what's in front of you is there. What that is, because it really could be. Here there are columns in this room. There are taller SETI type things.
Yeah.
And it looks like a figure from a distance.
Like down the catacombs, right in the back left corner,
Yes.
there's that lantern.
Yes, exactly.
Open that every
So
day.
the instrument will pick up things, and obviously, it's good to have that night vision screen,
Yeah.
camera, or the IR going on. It's going to help visualize what's really there.
Yeah.
But, again, we all are our best instruments. Our senses.
K2 is.
K2 keeps
It's
going
just
up.
going off.
It's going up a
It's your
lot.
friend. Like you carry it with you, and
This isn't even mine.
Well, you can,
Oh.
you can- I'm watching on the live feed, so you can
Uh-huh.
actually
You
see
can see it.
it.
Oh, you can see it?
Yeah, you can see it on the live feed.
I'm waiting for the flashlight to go off or something.
With airlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Well, and even with the SLS as well, like you notice, so when you're pointing it towards, when you're pointing towards the, like a person or whatever, you can kind of see a gray outline around that. But when you're pointing it to like
In the split
nowhere,
In
yeah.
the split screen stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can kind of tell,
Wait, where
like,
You need more too?
Sure.
mid coffee break.
Sorry, guys.
But no, that's okay. And then you just kind of notice,
Lot of cream.
that
Go Dale, copy.
Go.
Dale's our coffee runner for tonight.
I haven't had any caffeine today. That's my problem.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
We're gonna see if Ani wants to come out and.
That's the one thing.
That's the one thing.
I'm over here yawning.
No.
Missy noticed it. I'm trying to conceal it as much as I can.
Yeah,
but
why?
I'm just
Wake
waiting
up.
for you to tip them.
You'll get it tipped in.
Monkey catch it.
Oh, do you want to explain the monkey?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
We have some other things.
Tonight, Missy and Jerry brought.
Don't just throw it.
This little guy, and I'm taking him in.
Oh, godly.
This thing is scary looking.
He is.
Just don't look at his eyes.
He's way
Yeah.
too close to me.
I like-
You guys got this from a place in Pottsville, correct?
Mountville.
Or Mountville?
Yeah, the guy got a hold of me and asked me to come and remove him from the home. He got
Come
it
closer.
from.
Yeah, come
Oh, you want me to come in?
Here, take my seat.
Okay.
Take my seat. Here's Melissa.
Yeah, here's Missy.
Okay, so we got a message on our Jott-Nyx page about picking up a haunted object. And we went to Mountville. We met the couple who had him. And he said he got the monkey from an antique store in Reading. Obviously, it is an antique. He looks kind of creepy. He's missing some fur. He said he took it home and a lot of bad things were happening. Some of his animals were killing the other animals in the home. But then Jerry and I noticed that they also do practice, they are practicing Wiccans. There's good and there's bad always. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. The wife would continue to summon spirits from it and things were getting out of control. So the husband put him in a bag and stuck him in the shed until we picked him up. So I reached out to John Zaffis. He was in Pennsylvania twice. We were going to meet up where he was going to take it for his haunted collection.
Who was John Zaffis?
He is Ed and Noreen Warren's nephew. Everybody knows John Zaffis. If you're in the field, you know who the godfather of the paranormal is. He's a good friend of mine. He's picked up some haunted objects before from people that I know. The monkey, he wanted the monkey. Quick funny story. It was to the day that I told John that he was actually in the same exact area picking up another haunted object. And the yard and the yard was similar, the decorations in the yard. Only this, where we went, it was a mobile home. Where he went, it was an actual house. So it was just weird that the similarities between the two cases. But he had some family emergencies, actually, both times he was in the area and he had to go back to Connecticut. So he wasn't able to pick it up. So David here, you know, our guy that's not afraid to go in anything or anywhere, he wants the monkey. So
Well, no, it
why
kind of
not?
bothers me. I didn't know that it was affecting the animals. I had a whole lot of animals. I mean, anybody.
I personally don't think it's the object. He sat on my porch. He sat on my porch in a trash bag for months now. I didn't know. I would not put him in my house. I don't believe it's the object. I think maybe it could be the object, but I think it was what was done with the monkey in that particular home that made him crazy. If he's crazy, I don't know. But that's the story behind the monkey. So I'll let David explain what he's going to do with him.
Don't take it out of the box and sleep with it.
No, I am
Well,
not.
He starts banging his little cymbals.
It's
Y'all
gonna,
gonna
it's,
know.
gonna, it's gonna live in my garage for a couple of days, the 4th of July, and then on the 5th, it's gonna travel with me to my work in my office. It's going in on top of my bookshelf in my office.
Yes.
Yeah,
You see he's losing hair?
I shave my head now. Oh, wait, the monkey.
Well, he's starting to look like you because he's a little bald in the back.
Yeah.
You just need a pair of scissors.
If I grow my hair in, I pretty much look like this. All right,
You just do symbols.
I'm gonna put you back
Yeah,
over here,
just get a pair of
and yeah.
That's what you're dressing like for Halloween, right?
Yeah.
That could be great.
Speaking of Halloween, that will be in the parade, the Columbia
Oh yes, the Columbia
as
Parade.
well. So come see us there, and we'll defend our title, second
Yes.
year in a row.
We're getting Mallory a hot dog launcher.
Lunch.
Not allowed to throw candy, but that's all right.
You're not allowed to throw candy at people's heads.
We were gonna get her a T-shirt cannon, but she almost put Jerry's eye out last year.
There's going to be a lawsuit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm still here, so that's all right.
All good.
All right, let me go to the next question here. I think this might be the fun question.
All
It
right.
is the fun question. So, our fun question of the night. What is your go-to snack that you must bring with you to an investigation?
Peanut butter cups.
Not peanut butter cups. Not. Although they arrive regularly.
That's a tough one, man.
I know.
You know, it's well, you know.
I mean, you did have requirements tonight
I
to
did.
be on our
yes,
podcast.
I did have some
So-
requirements to be here.
But we're
think
missing something.
Oh.
We're missing our water.
That's true. I got the green M&Ms. There's a canister over here.
I got my orange gummy bears.
There's orange gummy bears. But the Australian artesian water didn't make it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in transit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
we'll
some
collect that
shitty
later.
bottles.
You know,
Potatoes in that, man.
That's a great question because, I think that what we do, we all have things that we do during the
You're
day
wrong.
before an investigation, so, and we're doing this like through the night, in most cases. How do you stay up? So for me, it's a lot of sugar.
You know,
You know,
you said that, and Andrew's
right.
mom just commented iced coffee. So there,
Yeah.
keep going.
Coffee, iced tea, it used to be soda, now it's iced tea. It used to be energy drinks too, they're hard for you, physically hard for you.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny,
I got
Lisa.
enough grief from that at home, so.
Yeah, hi, Lisa.
Candy, various candies. Beef jerky is a good one. Good little
Yeah, when you have
protein.
beef jerky, your jerky is nice.
So,
Well, apparently,
it
if you go to
depends on where we are. If we're
Yeah.
here, it's a lot easier because I'm like 8 minutes from my house. I can
Yeah, exactly.
like 4 minutes of sheets.
Yeah, 4 minutes from sheets down the road. So
But I think at the Hinsdale house that was fun because you made like little sandwiches.
yeah,
and,
I
like,
cooler. I brought sandwiches
chips.
for everybody. Don't not for me. And nobody wanted any of it. So
So sweet.
I had a great ride home.
Yeah, with Matt?
Yeah, Matt and I, he slept the whole time.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Hinsdale, yeah.
He was sweating,
Yeah.
wasn't he? Because you had the seat warmers on?
like a buffet of.
I had
Yeah, I
other
remember
seats, and we left at like 4 in the morning to drive back home for a 4-hour drive, and he was out 13 seconds after he got in the car, and so I kept hitting the seat warm. It was a chilly night, so I think it was okay. And then he got somewhere down the way, he woke up and turned it off, and then he fell back asleep in another 13 seconds.
That was the longest drive home for me.
Oh, it was awful, dude. I had well, it was foggy.
Yeah.
It was awful foggy. Like, and the highway up there, whatever the
Coming down off the mountain, just coming down off the mountain.
They had just paved it, but they had not lined it yet. So it is so foggy that you can't see anything. And all of a sudden, like a car came out of nowhere behind us, and the guy was doing like 80. And I'm like, how can you even see the road? And he passed us, and then he was gone. You know, it was a ghost car. But it was so foggy all the way down into Pennsylvania. I think we got around Williamsport and it finally broke open.
See, that's how it was on our way back from Cab 360. It was like foggy all through West Virginia. And once we hit Pennsylvania, it was like
Nothing. It's crazy.
I just remember it was foggy that night because you guys came out of the woods and Dale's like huffing it like about the deer or something, and I just see a knock on my car window.
Oh my God.
It's like foggy.
Dale has a terrible track record with
Animals.
Wildlife in general.
Yeah.
I'm certain, like, if you would have come to West Virginia with us, a bobcat would have got loose in the prison.
Yeah.
Well,
Dale would have locked himself in a red cell.
there was a fox loose in the prison, actually.
Oh,
We saw a small one. It
Wait, really?
No. Who was walking with me? It was Kelly. Was it Kelly? He was walking with me on the way out, and we found a possum. No, not a possum. A raccoon. They look so much alike. It was a raccoon. It was a small raccoon. It was in that long hallway where we took the pictures. You know, and it was like it had climbed up the wall and it was running across like one of the ledges up there, and I'm like, I think if we go slowly by it,
It won't lurch on you.
bother us. You know, it's
Don't make eye
I
contact.
jumped down.
this has been miserable
Yeah.
enough. Let's not get rabies. Let's not end the night with rabies, please.
That was in the chapel.
There was somebody that was just terrified of bats. All I heard every time we went somewhere was bats. But
It was Melissa.
I'm not going in the hole.
This
But you know
was,
what? I didn't see one bat that night.
oh, it was a big one in the chapel, in
Nope.
the back room.
Not one.
Not the main
That's a
chapel.
vampire.
That was,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm just walking in like,
That was just
what's
Dale.
in here? I remember this? I'm like, whoa! This thing just buzzes me. And it just kept going back and forth between the rooms. You know, like, it's kind of sad. It's obviously not crap, sort of. But yeah, no, not cool. Not
Well,
cool.
when you were talking about the infirmary up there, that was kind of surreal, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
walking, because you would walk into like a day room, and then you would have the exam rooms.
Yeah.
Then you have another day room. And you just couldn't, when I did it and I was walking through by myself, I kind of lost a sense of where I was.
How deep it was.
Yeah.
Like it kept going and going, kind of thing. And then, you know, I got to the end, like from the middle of the, you know, with the administrative end is where I went up, and then I, you know, got to the far end, and I didn't realize where that stairwell went at first.
Right, the
But
far end.
down to the end of the long hallway. And I'm standing there, and I was kind of afraid to go down because I didn't want to go further than I wanted to go, like by myself. And then as I got Chad, we came back up. That's when I realized where it was. I'm like, oh, it's kind of silly because everybody's kind of down there.
Right.
You know? So
All you had to do was listen for the chip bags and the Coke cans, but you would have found somebody.
yeah, definitely.
I
That's
still feel a certain way about that. But go ahead.
Speaking of
That's
chip
right.
bags,
Oh, okay. Speaking of chip bags.
my favorite kind of snack
Oh,
on
yeah,
investigation.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're still here.
No, well, not here, but when we're out,
When did Andrew get here?
when we're out, you know, it's really just candy.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
chips. I like sugar. Millsworth chips,
You just bring sugar packets.
slushies.
Somebody brings Twizzlers. I know that because Chad brings Twizzlers. Because I eat like
Yeah.
copious amounts of Twizzlers.
Yeah, he did that when we were down in St. Albans. He brought.
And I kept eating. I felt terrible about it. Not terrible enough to stop, but I just felt like I'm shame eating.
Don't look at me.
And then my last question that I have, and then I know we have some stuff, the pictures to go over from the brewery as well. But the last question is both of you can answer whatever. What's some advice that you would give to someone that's just starting out as an investigator or wanting to be a part of the paranormal team?
I'll go first. Just be patient. You know, just don't always go into something expecting to see something or get something or hear something. It's not always going to happen. Because you could literally be standing there for 6 hours, get nothing. Or you go in there for 5 minutes and get everything you want in those 6 hours. It's not like the TV shows. You know, just always stay patient, you know. And don't always rely on yourself too. That's the big thing. Just rely on yourself, your own body, your own mind. And if you have equipment, that's great. But just make sure you know how to use it first.
Yeah.
A flashlight. Make sure you know how to use a
That's how to
flashlight.
use a flashlight.
Is everybody gonna hit him with flashlight?
I'm not hating it.
I love it.
You know, Andrew, you're absolutely right. And I'm never going to admit that again. So, got it.
Well, it's
So
recorded.
it's recorded.
It's recorded now.
Done.
That's
Oh,
We're done.
my.
Yeah,
I already
I'm
say it
gonna
again.
clip this out.
Just keep that clip.
I'm gonna frame it. Put in audio, video.
A couple things.
It's your
The one, you know, the one is just like I was saying earlier, though. Like, talk to people about what you do. You know, like you're, and especially, you know, obviously you're going to meet like-minded people. There is quite a community in the paranormal. A very, very interesting and diverse people from strange walks of life. You know, that you wouldn't expect. You know, they're professional people. There are people with blue-collar jobs. There's no criteria for who could be an investigator. You know. And the more you talk about it, the more, you know, other people want to share their experiences as well. You know, you were never going to be, you might be alone in the space, but you're never alone as an investigator. There are plenty of others. You know, talk less and listen more in an investigation. You know, I mean, we have investigated with some celebrities. You know, those who are on shows who don't stop talking, and it's fun, but it's also really, really hard to go through evidence later. You know, because there's always a voice happening. You know, and it overtones, and it's, you know, overbearing the very faint at times evidence you're trying to collect. You know, and going from that, you know, to knowing what you're using. You know, if you're going to get if you're going to invest in equipment, know how it works.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause that if you're not using it right, you're not doing the justice to purchasing it in the first place and spending your hard-earned money. You know, and some stuff's very, very easy to get. Some things are not. And always be on the lookout for other stuff that you could add to your repertoire. You know, I got a bag I carry. I have a big bag, and I have a little bag that I carry with me. You know, and I have a EDI Plus in it. I have a K2.
Was that what you had the other night at the residential?
Yeah.
Like your go bag?
That was my go bag. Voice recorder, flashlight. Always have a flashlight.
Always.
Always. You know, so stuff like that. You know, find what works for you best and tweak it. You know, occasionally just to make sure you're doing everything you can do. Be in the moment of that space. You know, be prepared. The last thing to say about it is do your homework on the place you're investigating. You know what it is, know the history, and you know, really do as much of an immersion toward it that you can. That way, you're prepared for what you may come across, and be aware that there are going to be things that happen that aren't on the script for that place. You know, here's a great example. We have occasionally, and Mallory's story earlier was with catacombs. You know, someone was using the catacombs tunnels. That isn't someone we really came across before. You know, and be flexible like that. You know, we had a night where this room was not available to us, and we investigated in the art gallery, which is a space we really didn't do before. You know, and it gave us a chance to kind of branch out a little bit. You know, we had to be nimble that night, and I think we all did it very, very well to be flexible enough to carry that space, and you know, some things happened there that we wouldn't have caught before if we weren't in there. So you never know when something's going to happen around you. So just be attentive. You know, and that goes to listening more than talking. Yes, be in the moment. That's a long answer. Sorry.
I know. No,
Yeah.
it's great.
Long-winded there.
Yeah.
Do we still have time to show some pictures of? I know there were some pictures that Chad had put on about the investigation on the 25th here. I don't know if you guys want to talk about what you found.
So yeah,
I
this
don't know what's going on in the first
right,
picture.
this image is actually right here.
Oh, yeah.
Right here. And
I mean, it's
behind we moved
Block right there.
we moved these dividers. There was a large mirror back here on the wall. You can kind of see the top of it. This table was back about a foot and a half more, but David was actually sitting right around where Mallory is. The green device is one of our tools. And you'll notice as we frame by frame this, there is a shadow, a vertical shadow moving from right to left. From this space toward the corner. There's a doorway over here in the corner that leads back to what we understand was Ani's room and the kids' room back when this was the residential space for the Bube family. So, you know, Porty comes to us, Jack shows us this, and it's compelling. You know, in the moment, it certainly looks like there's a shadow moving. But what you don't see, and he is standing, a little bit over here. So he's not back in the room anymore. He's in this general space as well. So it's a 10-foot or so radius space. What you don't see is behind the camera, there's a long room, and it leads to, there's outside lights. These windows are all street level, well, we're one floor up, but they're all street lights around us. There is a business straight through the front of the building that has a light and it's pretty bright. Yeah. And that is the light that's casting a shadow, and there's clearly in the debunking stage of going back and trying to replicate it, which, here we go. I'm moving in the same pattern that somebody would be walking behind him that wouldn't be in frame, and we're seeing that shadow moving as well. So, it's the point I made earlier, like just to make sure that it's not something else, not automatically believing that we saw a shadow figure. We went and we tried to find it. What could it be? If we couldn't have replicated it, then sure, that's pretty compelling. And actually, the further back someone goes in the room, the more the shadow is, because they're closer to the light source.
Yeah, the bigger it gets and the darker it
And you
gets.
said it was going right to left.
Right to left, as we're facing this wall, we're mirroring
It's like the
ourselves.
old Alfred Hitchcock presents the silhouette as he walked across the street.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Wow,
yeah,
that's interesting, yeah.
and to the point of it, it looks great, and it's kind of cool to see it. And if we didn't try to replicate it in any way, shape, or form, I would certainly say it looks paranormal, because it's not common to see a shadow in a room where we're in. If we didn't, see it in the moment.
And that's one thing we like to do is debunk stuff.
Yes. If at all possible, remove all the things that it can be when what's left has to be paranormal. All the normal things are gone.
Well, you lose credibility when you go gaga over everything without, number one, immediately without looking for some rational answer and being able to rationalize or debunk it, because you just end up going over the top.
Yeah.
You want to approach it with the same kind of scientific curiosity, versus like an emotional. The difference between ghost hunting and paranormal investigating.
Yep.
You're not here looking for a charge. You're not peeking around the corner looking for spooks. You're looking for something that's measurable, that's quantifiable, that you can actually take and show to somebody. Like, hey, this was the temperature before we saw this, and during the interaction, it dropped 5 degrees, and here's my evidence. I can't explain that.
I say this to folks all the time. I get to cover the ground rules when we do an investigation, and I say 99% of the time you're walking around in the dark talking to yourself.
Yep.
And I don't mean that to say that joke, but there's a reality to it. And that's why you want information from the recordings that you have, whether it's video or audio or whatever devices you have. That's what you want to be able to go back to. That's really where you're going to find it. And no one is going to walk out of the wall, walk up and shake your hand and introduce themselves. I would love to have that happen. Love it. But it's realistically not going to happen. So again, it goes to paying attention to the space you're in, being there in the moment, listening more than speaking, and really just investigating.
Absolutely.
Instead of looking for the joke.
Right.
Right.
Looking
That's
for the
a
charge.
great way to say it, yeah.
You're looking for the excitement of it. So.
Was that all the pictures that you guys have for there?
I have to speak to the
Okay.
technical director.
That's okay.
Look at
No, that's
that.
perfect. So just on that note, and it's time. So I just want to thank Jamie and Andrew for hanging out with us tonight and talking to us and getting to know them. And next week we'll have 2 other investigators, or not next week, 2 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So August 6th at 8 p.m. is going to be our next one, our next Coffee Talk Live.
Once a month.
Yeah, once a month it looks like that we'll get on here and you can join us. And so I kind of just want to end everything with just
Well, before we
Go
go,
ahead.
in the interim, we do have 2 public investigations here at the brewery. We have one on the 9th and one on the 23rd. So we've got 2 this month. We only had 1 last month. Tickets still available for both, I believe. Is that correct? Still got tickets for both?
How do you get those tickets?
You go to the Bube's Brewery website and go to the events page. You can go to the Jott-Nyx Paranormal Facebook page, find them through there. And we actually have a actual website in development, and once that gets up and running, you'll be able to find them through there.
Right. So just signing off from Coffee Talk with Jott-Nyx Paranormal. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. So stay spooky.
Bye.